Okay, you ready, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're starting our next session about the Czech music industry and booking and promotion. And we have Radek Motlik here and Vaclav Klíma.
Yeah. Hi.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Yeah. Let's just wait a minute till everybody comes in, and then we can start. Let's start with you, Radek. You're working for DSMAQ Promotion and also running a club or promoting a club, Café Lese. Thank you. Also managing Dirty Lenka, as far as I know.
That's just a tour managing. So
Tour
that's
managing.
just
Okay.
keep myself busy.
Could you give us a little overview of these companies and what you do at them? And
Well, I'll start with the venue. That's a 200 capacity venue that I've been running for 10 years now, out of its 15 years existence. So we do like 60% of the dramaturgy and programming is international artists. And we have shows every day. It's a small 200 capacity venue, well managed, I would say. And the company, DSMAQ Promotion, it's a company founded by my colleague David Urban, who's founded it some ages ago, 30 years ago. And we are doing variety of shows starting at the 200 capacity at my venue and doing also arena shows like the names like George Ezra and Michael Kivanuka.
yeah, they're crazy.
And
big
also
names, yeah.
booking a festival, not in Czech Republic, but in Slovakia. It's called Grape Festival.
Okay. Was it a childhood dream of yours to work at DSMAQ since it's been around, I guess, when you were very little?
No, I wanted to ride trains, but ended up doing what I like. It's fine. I can't complain, you know.
Okay, great. Thanks. Vaclav, can you please tell us about you work or you run actually Heartnoize Promotion, right? That's the
Yep.
main that you founded with your colleagues, and you also had a little affair with SoundCzech before. Marcy was also mentioning that, but can you explain a little bit more about the company, please, and what you do there?
Yeah. So Heartnoize Promotion, we are around almost for 11 years now, and we are doing basically all kinds of alternative music, from really anything from like black metal to ambient or contemporary classical music or some electronic music as well. And we are mostly doing headline shows, but we kind of work with some festivals as well, and we have our own club night, which is not really regular, and we also tend to focus on like more alternative stuff. And quite recently, last 2 years, we have also our own Gen Z division where we are doing more like hyperpop,
Glitter. Hit?
glitter hit,
Yeah.
yes. Crazy electronic music and generally like really young artists, but it's also mostly like headline shows of like international artists, with like some occasional like club night more or less, but with the like really Gen Z music, it's kind of like blended. There's not that strict divide. Sometimes it's something in between. You have some live acts, some DJs, and it ends at 3 o'clock in the morning, but it's not like a real party in the Berlin style. So yeah, that's what we are doing. And it's generally like smaller shows. I think the biggest capacity we usually do is like 1,000 people, but otherwise it's anything from like 10 to 1,000 people.
And do you work all over the Czech Republic or mainly in Brno or Prague?
Now we are based in Prague, most of us. So we do like mostly shows in Prague. We have one festival that we are co-promoting, which is happening in like different smaller towns. It moves places each 2 or 3 years. But otherwise, we are doing mostly stuff in Prague. we used to be more active before, but now with like the amount of shows, it starts to be really complicated for us, and it's just generally easier to just like work directly with some other promoter there and just book it together if we want to do like Prague and Brno or something like that. So it's basically like a time issue. We would like to do that, but realistically, last couple of years, especially after COVID, like it seems to get more complicated and time-consuming. So mostly Prague.
And you?
That's the same situation for us, basically. But we have at the agency we have 2 artists that we still book like a local artist. So with them we book all over the Czech Republic. But with the international artists, it doesn't make that much sense for us to book outside Prague. Sometimes we do Brno, but otherwise the market is not that big for the international artists, to be honest. So.
March explained that you have there are 400 or so festivals in the Czech Republic, including a lot of like city festivals or village festivals or everything like that. Do you work with any of those? Like, I mean, are you involved with these many festivals with your own artists or any other artists?
With the local artists, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But with the international artists, like out of the 400 festival, I'd say 10% have some international artists in the lineup, maybe even less.
I would say that actually, like especially after COVID, like a lot of the smaller festivals became a bit more brave in this sense, or because there was some
there's
like
no more to lose. They can
that too, or also because they suddenly like the really big open air festivals weren't happening, so there's like situation kind of changed. So maybe they had like thought there was gonna be more people, or they just risked it, I guess. So I think there's quite a lot of like some small international acts, but I think it's more common than it used to be. But there's a lot of festivals for sure, a lot.
So I have a feeling that you tend to work with, let's say, smaller or more experimental artists.
Yeah.
And you guys work with like a bit bigger names.
We work with all sorts.
All sorts.
That's what's connecting my 2 jobs basically, is that we do this year we did like 40 shows at my venue at the 200 capacity, and if we sell out, then we continue the work at the bigger venue, which is like out of the 40 shows, 2-3 artists that you continue to work on. So this is you can give it a try if you like it, but then you see what happens.
Okay. And if Hungarian artists would like to play at Café Lese, what's the journey to get there?
Well, that's a hard question.
But you definitely have quite a lot of Hungarian artists.
Loads
or is it a
of,
realistic
loads of
question at all,
Hungarian
you know?
artists in the past. There's more ways. That's either through a promoter or directly. The easiest thing to do is to drop me an email, drop me another one.
And
I mean, also the thing is that we go to showcase festivals and conferences. So I think that the shows that we did with Hungarian artists used to be based on the like personal approach. Because I used to go to Bush and Eurosonic. You meet loads of people there as well. So
is there something specific you look for? Do you, for example, look for some sort of local, following base, or you're adventurous and if you like a band and you put them on?
I don't think there's you can look for a local base for a Hungarian artist, like, because usually there's none. But what I look for when working with these artists is if they have any kind of plan to how to do the show, how to work on it, how to promote it. Yeah.
Okay. What's your experience?
Yeah, it's true that like there are definitely like exceptional cases where maybe the people are not really that good in doing the promotion, or just like overall planning on what they're gonna do, but they're like awesome artists, and you can still make it work. But it obviously helps if there is a plan or some, you know, like at least some hint of it, so that you're not gonna get stuck alone, kind of like doing all the all the weightlifting in terms of the promotion. So even if there is really like no like fan base, it still helps if there is at least like the energy to change that.
Because this is the thing nowadays. It has to be done both ways. Because some artists are kind of misled in a way they think we are going to basically pay them a fee, promote the show, and make 100 people come to their show. It doesn't work like that. We don't have budget for that. That's one thing, and yeah, it has to make sense from both sides. There has to be some approach, and lately, not with just international artists. I had the experiences. Some of the artists, they ask for a PR contribution. They don't want us to run any ads, and they run ads themselves, and it's the most efficient way. So if that's a good approach, I like it.
You just perhaps
it kind of changes my job as a promoter, because then I feel like I don't actually promote anything, but it's like more you do more the production of the show itself, but it works well.
Okay.
To be honest,
you help them perhaps with targeting and spreading, you know, or how to what sort of ads to use on Facebook or Instagram or anywhere else?
Not really. That's like the best experience I had in the past few months was that the band did the ad themselves the way they feel like they should do it, and it worked really well.
Okay.
And I'm thinking in terms of Hungarian artists, it can actually work quite well because we are not like, you know, so far from each other. I think there's always some kind of connection and some idea what people do like. Maybe you know some other bands and you can talk to other people, you know. So
actually, there are some agents lately from the bigger agencies based in London. They are actually looking for artists outside of like not just England, but Western Europe as well. And they look for artists specifically in the region like Hungary, Poland, Czech, and then they continue to work with them. And yeah, they've been successful to do so as well. It's kind of interesting that this is finally happening, that they're not just looking for the artists based in the UK and the West, but they also work with like there's been a few Hungarian artists that are really big nowadays, I'd say. What was the name? Azaria.
Yeah,
that's huge. I was surprised, and it's not.
Did you organize any of the shows? In Prague?
No. That was organized by Live Nation.
Okay.
That speaks for itself as well.
Yeah.
But we did Ivan and the Parasol. That was organized by Rock for People. That's a huge festival. So there was some kind of personal connection as well. So yeah, I think.
Any experience with Hungarian bands?
We definitely had. I'm not gonna try to name all of them because I will definitely forget about something. But for example, we did a show for Freaking Disco, and I also tried to help them. So I want to get another like shows on festivals and stuff like that. But there were definitely more. I'm not gonna try to, but there were more. And I just wanted to come back to what Radek was saying about the promotion, because I think in our case it's not really that common, because we actually try to have some kind of a like fan base ourselves, to have like some people that go to our shows even though they never heard or they have no chance to realistically to know the artists that we are promoting. And I think it's more like more. I think the other way is way more common. Like we have someone who is not really that like big.
Sorry
in
to
promotion.
step in, but I just need to add that I was talking about this from the venue
Yeah,
side of you,
yeah.
and
Totally.
you as a promoter should promote. That's
Yeah. No, no, I meant like we are definitely in a different situation in this sense. So, but generally, there are definitely some people, even if it's like pretty new thing, that are really capable of like helping with the promotion dramatically. But there are also people that are very much like they have zero presence online,
Okay.
and it can still work sometimes.
Do you suggest that anyone should try and build some sort of presence in the Czech market? Is it even doable with PR agencies or through any sort of media?
I wouldn't say PR agency is a solution for this. I'd say the more effective way is to do it yourself. It depends on the level, of course, but it basically you start from the bottom. So that's when you usually don't have that much budget. So the easiest is if you do the plan yourself, and then you discuss it with the partners. That means the venue, promoter, whoever's involved. But that's what I mentioned in the first case, that it's good to have a plan. It's good even for me before I book, before I start any cooperation. Is to discuss if there's any sort of view into what's happening. Because I mean, I get 10 emails, even more a day. We are this band. This is our music. And I was like, yeah, cool.
Do you see any like media out there, sort of blogs or YouTube channels or whatever that deals with music? Are there any that's kind of like approachable?
I think it really depends on the music. There are still some like music or cultural media left, even printed ones still. But
printed one.
Sorry. Yeah. Oh, uni is technically still two. But it really depends on the music. Like for example, for the like Gen Z stuff, it's way harder because like you have some like Gen Z focused general media, but they are not really that interested in having like they will either have something about the like local artists, or they will have some like very expensive ads that you need to pay for that are realistically not like in terms of the amount of the content they produce, like it's not really that functional. So with these shows, it's mostly like just social media, or like we always try to do something extra, but it's kind of like nice to have, not that.
I had the experience that there was a band from Slovakia, and they paid for a PR agency, and then I realized how much they spent on the actual PR agency just to send a press release, and then what happened was nothing. And so I was thinking, like, if they invested this amount to any online presence, that they would play O2 Arena by now, maybe. That's 10,000 venues, sorry, but it doesn't seem very effective on this level to me.
Yeah, I think there are some cases, and there are also not that many like PR agencies that are actually capable. It's usually like some specific people that like are doing some cultural PR marketing. But I think it makes sense if you are doing something like with like wider audience. I wouldn't say like totally mainstream, but you have some plan to reach like more people, and probably it makes sense when you are at some level where you already have some connections in the country or something. So it's not just like some random dude sending some random like PR articles and okay, maybe someone will publish it, but nothing will happen afterwards. So I think it can work in some very specific cases. But if you are doing something like very alternative or very like with some like very specific audience, then I think it's generally much better just to spend all the money for whatever you want to do and to promote it on social media or any way you want.
And how difficult is the audience? Is it hard to get them to listen to an unknown band, or do they really need, a lot of push, or they're just happy to?
I think it's easier than in Austria, but
Why?
I don't know. It just felt like people really want the stuff they already know. But I think it depends. Like we are trying to do that, and it's just I feel like it's a bit harder after COVID.
Yeah, it's a bit hard question for me because I'm feeling a bit lost in what audience wants after COVID.
Okay.
For first, I thought they just want to stay home, but it's getting better. But it's hard to say sometimes. It's like.
Why did you have some bands that you thought gonna work perfectly and just didn't work out at all, and the other way around? Or?
Yeah, many times, yeah, and other way around as well. Sometimes it's like what changed a lot in past few years is that, like, if you did a show 8 years ago, you would have announced it on social media. That basically meant Facebook, and you had the Facebook event, and there was people who are going and interested, and you could have taken a look and and counted the number of tickets you are probably going to sell, and nowadays sometimes you take a look at the event and there's 5 people and you have like 100 tickets sold and you don't know why. You're happy, but
unpredictable.
It gets complicated sometimes. It's
I think it's also just an economical issue as well. Like it might sound paradoxical that people are not going to the cheap shows, the smaller ones, but I feel like there's just like the gap is widening. Like you either go to something really small or like you spend a lot of money for something and it's like a
this is something
huge show.
we talked with a lot of people around Europe, is that if you pay ton of money for Oasis show, 500 quid or whatever, then you're probably not going to spend another 5 times 10 euros per smaller show. You just go to the big one, and then if you add the hotel and drinks and everything, so that's the thing in Czech Republic as well, because there's these shows of the artists like Billie Eilish, and the tickets are like 300 euros. So I guess the people tend to go to the small shows that much as they would, but that's normal. But as Vasek mentioned, this is something that's like the gap is widening.
Okay.
Yeah.
In my opinion, but I guess it's the same here as well.
Similar is happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like an overall trend, but I think that we might feel the difference a bit more because I think like before COVID, it was kind of the peak of like, especially in terms of the small shows, you could really like the shows that would for me be just like, yeah, we can always do it and we just like publish it and it will happen by itself. Basically, we will kind of like promote it, but like half of it will be totally organic, and also the costs were like 5 times less, so you wouldn't really worry about it that much. And now it's really like a different situation, that it's even like the financial side of it is way more risky.
Martin was noting that because there are so many tourists in Prague, especially, you can just do whatever and people will go. Whether it's
I don't have the experience that sometimes people or the artists or the agents think that if you put on a show, there's just people walking from the street to see the show of unknown band. That's not happening at all. That's or just very little. I don't know if what's the situation at your place, but this is not really happening. But what they do is if they are around in Prague, they take a look what's happening online, and then they buy the tickets and then they come. That's what can happen. But it's kind of planned already, because that's the same thing I do. If I travel somewhere, then I take a look what shows are there, and then just plan to go and buy a ticket in advance.
Yeah, I think it's not that especially we are still kind of dealing with more or less alternative music in this sense, and I think it's, you know, like there's it's probably some percentage always, but it's not nothing that would really change if the show is a success or not.
There's been some shows like we did in past few years. There was one band from Manchester, and we had like 80 tickets sold, and 70 of the people were from England flying in, because it was just before COVID when the flights were very cheap, and they could have had 10 beers for the same price that they would pay a ticket for in Manchester. So they just flew over. And also we did a Hungarian band. I can't remember the name, to be honest, last year, and there was like 170 tickets, and 150 tickets were Hungarians coming from Hungary, because it's really popular here. But I don't know the name, sorry.
Okay. Ever since there's more relaxed drug laws, did it affect the shows and the gigs in any ways, the clubbing?
But it was
more relaxed, like drug laws.
But it was more or less always like that since the like 90s. So
okay.
So I guess it affects the the scene somehow. But I think it's just in a way that you know, you don't have that many unnecessary police visits in the venues, except for the noise complaints. But I think it's just like, it's nice to live in a country that doesn't, you know, put you in jail for having weed. But that's about it. But there's no like dramatic change in that. Like, I think it's pretty much the rules are like very similar. You know, personal amount of everything, and you can split between more people. And it's fine.
Okay,
I don't know. I've never seen such things.
Okay. Great. And okay, so could you maybe give us some hints, like what other clubs and venues would be interesting to look up if people were to try and find?
This is
gigs?
kind of difficult because we have venues rather shutting down than open.
Yeah.
We are. We are 3 venues less in past 12 months, and around 350 capacity, 400 capacity, and 450 capacity. 3 venues shutting down. So this is really, really difficult at the moment. But there's as Martin is from SoundCzech, so if you take a look at the SoundCzech website, there's a addressory where the venues are listed and people are listed, and there's showcases in Czech Republic that if you go there, you meet the people, and if you do the personal approach, that's probably what's going to get you there. But it means some kind of personal time or even money investment to do so. But and there's been projects in running from since the very start of SoundCzech. It's called SoundCzech Connect. If you do like 2 shows, like for example one in Budapest and one in Prague together, the 2 same bands, like connection, then you get some money for it. So that's also a way that has been done before.
Yeah, definitely take a look at the database. I spent a lot of time working on it. So no, but I think it's generally like nice, and there are not that many organizations like that try to have this like a huge contact list. So it's not just the venues or like official events. There are also like a lot of festivals. Obviously, it takes some time to go through it if you don't really know what you're looking for. But I think it's a good start for sure. Like, you can of course look through, I don't know, like ticketing sites, or I don't know, sometimes even Facebook if the search still works. I guess not, but I think this is like nice that it's already somehow pre-selected for you. So it's a good source of like the starting information, I would say.
Okay.
And anyway, the main thing is that if you're at the start, it's good to start in Prague, just like Prague and Brno. It's no need, or it doesn't make sense to me to approach other cities at the start.
Yeah.
or if you don't have some specific context, I would say, like if you have like a band that you know or someone that you have really good relationship with, and you think that it would work somehow for the music you are doing, then I think it's a good idea. But if you are just like, you don't really know what you're looking for, then it's probably way easier to get start with the Prague or Brno for sure.
Does anyone have any specific questions?
Do you have any experience about mobility rate of local fan base and going to the concert in Prague? What is the gap of online fan base to make a concert in a small club or cafe in Prague?
You mean what's the difference between like the fan base and the people that actually show up, or?
Fan base is followers in social media, but
Okay.
in Hungary, mostly the 10% or 20 will come from that city to the concert. This is a very small rate of the mobility. What is it about in Prague?
It's an interesting question, but
I would say it might be even worse sometimes, especially with the local artists. It depends, I think, how much they play, especially like in Prague, and if it's something like smaller. And
I'm not even sure if these numbers mean anything anymore. Like,
it means, I guess, if they're like, what's their presence online somehow, but it can sometimes mean absolutely nothing for the live shows.
but that's the actual thing. If you have a plan, you have some numbers, and you see that you can see how many followers you have in Prague, and then you put on a show, you see how the sales go, and you work with the numbers. Like,
Okay,
that's
it's
the
very
way.
different by countries based on culture. So, do you have any experience?
I think, like, for example, with the like local rap artists, that I buy any like measurable anything, they are like the most popular.
It varies
artists.
by the genre.
Yeah,
Of course, that's I don't know.
Like, they have
are
the
we
biggest
speaking
numbers.
in any particular genre?
Yeah.
Techno. Yeah.
In techno, I think that's very hard to say. I don't know. Like, then it depends more on the event. Than when it's electronic music, it's not.
That's a very specific scene. There are venues for that, and I don't think.
I don't think it depends that much on the artist. That sometimes,
Yes.
like, they can have great following, and if it's a bad show, then people just not come, or not that many people, and or you also have like totally unknown DJs playing for thousands of people if it's like a good event.
Another question?
Yeah, Radek, I'm not sure if I understood well in the very beginning when you were telling, so what music genres, what music styles are you programming in your club? Everything?
Almost everything. Yes, I'd say almost everything.
And if you are programming almost everything, do you have a community of audience for each genres, or you don't have community of audience at all?
Am I allowed to say I don't know at the masterclass? I'd say yes. I'd say yes. There are some communities for some genres, but
So your audience is mainly changing, or you don't follow, you don't
we have
build it up?
loads of audiences from for each show. It's different. I would be interested, and I'm not able to count that on how many people are actually going through the club. I can count the total tickets sold, but like how many actual people there are. But I think that's a lot.
You have a structure or a policy of how you build up your program. So, for example, every Wednesday it's hip hop, every Thursday it's jazz.
No, not really. You can't really do that anymore because we have loads of international artists, and these artists, they get booked very much in advance. So now we're booking like October 25, November 25, and then you build around it, because the local ones, they tend to book the shows later, and then there's gaps, and I try to fill in the gaps, because we have shows. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but we have show every day. Like this year we had from 10th of October until 3rd of December. We had show every day. And you know what happened on 3rd of December when we hadn't had the show? No. The police came because of noise complaint.
You have to silence people with music.
Because the bartender turned on the music and left it on.
And the 200 capacity, it's stand or seated?
Standing. We don't do much seated shows, because if people are seated, they don't drink that much.
Okay. How do you feel about the local artists and their potential to go abroad and be known outside of the Czech Republic? Do you guys work with that at all?
There are some artists that are very very good at this. They even have shows here and around Europe, and yeah, it's difficult for them as well as for Hungarian artists, I believe. But there are some names I think they are looking good at the moment, I'd say.
I would imagine that it's pretty much like similar situation. Like it's more complicated to get to Western Europe because there's still some like UK-based hegemony in the music business. It's definitely like different financial conditions. Sometimes it's even, I guess, this like post-Soviet world forever DIY attitude, even though it's like kind of mainstream music. I guess like all of these things will be also.
Do you work
here
on
somewhere.
booking shows for artists outside of Czech Republic?
I used to, and it's. I don't do it anymore. Let's put it like that.
Okay.
No.
It's a very hard job. It doesn't get back to you at the point. It's I wouldn't like to be an artist, to be honest. It's so difficult nowadays. No, I mean it, and you get paid like little fees, and the costs are rising, and I'm happy I'm on the other side.
Yeah, the ticket prices
and thumbs up, like big up for everyone who's keeping doing that and trying to go abroad. I know how difficult that is, and
what about the ticket prices in Prague or elsewhere in Czech Republic? Are they rising or
that's
standard?
the other thing. Like for the Western artists, they have a ticket like €30, and then in Prague it's like 12. So that's the difference, and that's the same with the fees as well. So, but I just realized in Prague a few months ago, I started to put the tickets prices a bit higher, and nothing happened. So I don't know what your experience is, but we were generally keeping it low.
Yeah.
And I mean, I see what people are doing around me, and they just spending money for shit anyway. So just like put the ticket prices a bit higher, and nothing happened. So that's a good. I mean, this is something.
Still not high enough.
This is something that is very similar or even better than the situation before COVID. I think that before COVID it was kind of a golden age, I'd say, because every show was selling well, everyone is happy, and now after it took a long time. It's 2020. It's 4 years. So after 4 years, it feels just getting back to this.
But I think it's more in the amount of what's happening, like amount of whatever events. But I don't think it got back in terms of the attendance. Definitely not for the small shows, for sure. And about the ticket prices, I mean, we also kind of try to keep it accessible. But I think overall it's not really changing that much. Like some people, like it depends on
the
the
price
music.
price levels is changing in general with the
Yeah.
inflation as well. So
Yeah,
so
that's true.
that's one thing it's like keeps rising naturally.
But I don't think it's rising like with the same tempo as the costs are rising. Like I think the ticket prices are generally like if you compare what you would pay in 2019 for the show, like for I don't know 200 people, and what would be the ticket price? I don't think it's like proportional now. Like the ticket prices are actually lower.
That's one thing I don't do is that is doing free shows because at this level, it just didn't work for me. So just it's not going to bring more people. That's the thing.
Okay, and how do you feel about your near future in the music industry? Like, are you positive about it, or
How near?
I don't know, like maybe 1 year,
days.
2 years, maybe not in a month, but in a couple of years, do you see some great stuff happening that you want to ride, or you see some opportunities in the Czech Republic in the market? Is there anything you feel like you can?
I think it's going really well at the moment, so that means it's something will happen that will stop it, as always. So I'm realistic, like that. It's highs and lows, and it goes from time to time. So no, but at the moment, I think it's good. It's there's has to happen something that, like as I mentioned, there are 3 venues shutting down in Prague at the moment, so they probably will open new places. I don't know where, 'cause there's nowhere. But so I think I believe it's going to be good.
Like I think the overall social economical situation is not that good. Sometimes I think a bit worse than people pretend it is, and that has its effects on culture as well, and that includes even some venues shutting down.
And that's one thing, that Prague is kind of a bubble.
Yeah.
It's like a European city, and it's one of the richest regions in Europe, I think. So that's the thing. It's good in Prague, but otherwise the promoters in the smaller cities are struggling.
And like since I come from like governmentally funded environment, let's say, maybe I'm just like kind of biased in that, but I feel like if there's not more redistribution of the money somehow, it doesn't even have to be like by the government, but if there's no change in that, I think that more and more stuff like closing venues or just some stuff not existing at all will happen. For sure.
That's something I'm hoping to happen in next few years. Is to have organizations like Music Trust, Music Venue Trust, so all this sorts of, because this is something that is developing. Like, well, I mean, 8 years ago we didn't even have the export office, and it had to be Hungarian to come and open it, and it changed a lot. It's really good stuff to have some organization like this, and I'm hoping for more organization to open in sorts of venue or artist development or whatever. So this is something that I believe.
Are you involved in any of that?
God, no. no. I mean, I would love to, but this is something I'm thinking of to do in the future.
Yeah, that would be definitely nice, but I'm like more pessimistic about it.
Yeah. It's
like
going to be a long road to do anything like that. But I loved the idea, because when I was at White Days in Scotland, the Music Venue Trust in Britain, they in Scotland particularly, they have a law that if someone moves next to the venue, he can't shut it down because of the noise. Because you just moved to next to the venue. Does it make sense?
What did you expect? Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be that.
And it's legally there, and they managed to do it. So hopefully in 40 years we could.
Yeah, I think that's like another big topic by itself, especially in Prague, I would say. It's just this like crazy, I don't know how to, like, that just like one person can change so much because the like hygienical and like all these like rules are so strict. Like
We actually have one particular person in Prague that has started a business basically on fucking with the venues. I'm sorry, and he managed to shut down one venue actually, and
He's behind the 3 venues shutting down.
not behind all 3. There's different reasons, but the one in particular, and he's against open air shows in Prague. He's against festivals in Ostrava, which is 400 kilometers away. So he started literally a business based on this. And that's just one person. And I've heard the main reason behind it is that he has this winter garden, and he has a television in the winter garden. And when they started the open air concerts on the other side of the river, he couldn't watch the telly in the winter garden. So he was so pissed that.
But yeah, the problem is that this one guy can actually make a difference. Like it shouldn't be possible, but it unfortunately is, and it's like super strict. And in Prague, like people are sometimes really crazy and trying to really find someone to blame, even though they are living next to a busy street with like old, broken diesel engines, running constantly next to their windows, but the venue is the problem, or the whatever place.
Okay, but you said you moved to a new venue, or you started working your company at a new venue.
Yes, we started working with Archa Plus, which is kind of a big venue in sort of center of the city. It's 1,200 capacity. It's the big room, but in there, hopefully, we will never have these kind of problems because it's in a complex with only like offices and like
and
commercial.
It has been a venue
since
it was built.
Yeah, it was built as a venue.
This is for this kind of venue. It's good, but the other venues that are shutting down are basically the venues that are built in like garages or basement or.
Because there are mostly almost no venues that were built as venues like in last 20, 30 years, and there are some places that were venues for like 100 years and were like rebuilt, reconstructed. This is that case, but most of the places are just like something in the basement or some other place that was like repurposed for the venue, but they can be there for like 20 years as well.
A friend of mine opened a venue 5 years ago for 150 capacity, and they spent like 300,000 euros in it. And I was like, have you ever counted when is the money getting back? He was like, no. Maybe it should. That's also a reason. So if there's any support for that, but it's just like spending the money. That's something that I believe will change in future.
Brave man. Do you guys have any more questions? Perhaps, Zsolt?
We all know the names, Karel Gott and József Blázsin. Who's the next, guys? Be honest.
Wow.
I mean, I think there will be like Karel Gott again in some like holographic shows for sure. That's probably the first thing. But otherwise, I have no idea.
Any other questions? Cool. Well, guys, thanks a lot for being here and helping out with learning more about the Czech market and Prague and the country. I hope you can still hang around and people can find you and hopefully get some more advice.
Ask the question they're afraid to ask now.
Perhaps, yeah. So this is really the last time to ask in public anything. If you're all fine, then thanks everyone for coming and being here. It was quite fascinating. Thanks a lot for sharing all this. And see you on the next one.
Thanks a lot.